So we also talk a lot about the 10 times better content thing. What is it all about? How do you measure how much better content piece is?
What a great question. Okay, so 2 parts to this answer. The first was that when I first started, I decided that I was going to produce content anyway that was miles better than my closest competitor could ever produce, because bearing in my history, I'd effectively had a business taken away from me, an immigration business in Hong Kong taken away from me through my stupid decisions. And I wanted to make sure that that was never going to happen to me again. And I knew from a content audit that my competitors were just not at the races. So I knew that I could produce a content proposition that was going to be better than anything else. But I also wanted to make sure that the barriers to entry for anybody who caught on to what I was doing would be so high that they're going, I can't possibly develop material at that level. So my idea of 10 times content was enunciated through self-preservation right from the outset, knowing that I wasn't going to allow myself to be compromised in the way I'd allowed myself to be compromised previously. So that's why I was producing high quality content. And then a few years later, Rand Fishkin of Moz.com did a Whiteboard Friday where he talks about the economics of 10 times content. And it's really quite straightforward, right? He makes the point that if your mission through your content development activities is to get the #1 slot in Google on the first page, by definition, you need to be on the first page and you need to be 10 times better than everybody else on the first page. And so, and I discussed this in the video, Power Free, but he then lays out this sort of schema as to what represents 1 times content, 2 times content, 3 times content. And you start off with, having somebody on Fiverr just produce a piece of content for you, and then having the piece of content that pops the #1 position that has probably taken you, in a sense, 3 or 4 business days to develop, and it is designed specifically to beat out your competition right from the very get-go, which is a really good way to think about it. But remember, when you're developing your own 10 times content, all you have to do is to be better than your closest competitor or your most natural competitor. But while you're at it, you may as well use whatever resources you've got around you to produce the content that's as good as it can possibly be. But let's not forget that your ability to produce 10 times content sits in your head because you are the expert. You're the one. You're the person who has the ability to answer a question and solve a problem to whatever degree necessary that allows that problem to be properly addressed. So your starting proposition is that your expertise probably gets you, 5 times content there and then. And then it's just a question of saying, well, who else is producing content in this niche, and what do I need to do to make sure that I'm completely leaving them behind? And it might be that your competition are only doing text. Anybody can do text, right? That's writing. People write stuff all the time. So, okay, well, do what I did. Get yourself in front of a camera and get yourself a little iPod teleprompter and write a script and perhaps have your text, but then interspace amongst that text some oral commentary. Suggest why the conclusions that you've arrived at in your piece are arrived at in the way that they are, and then bring some other information, some contrapositions or some other things for people to think about. I mean, these are just open ideas, right, about how you can take your 5 times content and turn it into 10 times content. And more often than not, it's a case of, well, are people doing videos? So if they're doing videos, what's the quality of those videos? Can you produce a video proposition that instead of it just being 1 camera, can you do it with 2 cameras, right? Have you got the ability to do that? Can you spend an hour at the Apple shop on one of their expertise days and learn how to manipulate the Apple video editing software so that you can easily produce a video that it includes 2 cameras instead of 1 camera? again, just do an audit of what it is that your competition are doing in the content space and say, well, okay, yeah, I see that. I think I can do that better than them. I can do it more interesting than them. The worst thing you can do is just to be like them. You've got to be different from them. But as I say, you're halfway home because of the expertise that you've got and the fact that you're ready to share that expertise and showcase that expertise. And then on top of that, it's a case of, right, well, how can I make my content appear to be much better than whatever it is my competition is putting out, even if the material is essentially substantively the same.